Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name's Dave Burrows and I'm the director and owner of SnowPros Ski School based here in Switzerland. This week I'm joined by Lynn Mill, and Lynn joined me via Skype to have a lovely chat. I really enjoyed this one. I had a lovely chat with Lynn, who's based in Val d'Isère in France. Lynn is a former member of the British ski team. She is a trainer for BASI. She is also on the BASI demo team. And in this first half, we had a wide-ranging chat, but we covered sort of many topics. But one was about Val d'Isère, which is quite a big centre for British skiing. There's a lot of the training body is based there. Or certainly one big half of it seems to be based there. We talk about her history, skiing history and background with an experience with the British ski team, and the experience of becoming a BASI trainer and experiences on the demo team for the last couple of cycles. So yeah, there's a lot in this first half. This is quite a long one, and there's two parts of 1 hour for you to enjoy. Thank you for all of those that do take the time to get in touch with me. I really appreciate it. Thanks to Jamie Stevens, who recently wrote to me. Hi to you, and thanks for your lovely message. And enjoy this first half of the podcast, and I'll catch you in the middle to let you know what's coming on the second half. Lynn Mill, welcome to the Ski Instructor Podcast. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm good, thank you. It's nice to be on here. It's nice to chat to you. Nice to see you.
Well, exactly. We've chatted once already as like a pre-chat, but yeah, it's good. It's good. How's things with you? You've just you've hustled Dougie out the door with the baby, and you're free.
Yep. So I've just got a little bit of peace and quiet, which is lovely. I have to admit, I sat down for 2 minutes before I called you and just took a deep breath and enjoyed the quiet. Effie, my little girl, she's 10 months and she is a lot of fun. She's going through a slightly noisy spell at the moment, so she's finding her vocals. She's got a few consonants, but really she just screams a lot.
Oh,
in protest, in happiness, in everything. So it's nice to have a bit of peace and quiet.
It's great. It's great times. I have to say though, I sometimes look back at the pictures. Like, we're 3.5 years into this now, and and you look back at the pictures and you're like, wow, she was so small. It's so crazy,
Yeah, it does go scarily fast. I see a lot of newborns now and realise just how far we've come.
I know.
And, each new age leap is exciting in itself. So
I'm measuring it in terms of like equipment that I'm managing to jettison. So we just got rid of like the buggy, like this sort of McLaren buggy that we used rarely actually. We don't really have any sort of need for it, we either drive everywhere and go somewhere, but we just don't use this buggy thing, and I don't really want to be pushing my daughter around everywhere. I'm like, no, if you can walk, then we'll walk, it doesn't matter if we don't go very far, but you got to walk. and then every now and then, like, you see, I don't know, like another new parent like yourself, and like, that big bag that you carry around with you everywhere, it's like eventually that big bag goes, and it's brilliant. Like, you can just leave the house with a rucksack and you start to get out of the house on time and all sorts of stuff. It's really, it's cool.
You mean we don't have to pack for the apocalypse every time we leave the house anymore?
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Like the stuff you have to carry, the amount of stuff that such a small person generates. It's extraordinary.
Effie, this winter, she had more ski suits than Dougie and I put together. She had some amazing snowsuits. They were gorgeous, little, tiny, cute. She was she was born in August, so for winter she was, 4, 5, 6 months for the bulk of winter before we got shut down. She had these amazing snowsuits, incredibly cute. But yeah, I've just realised none of them will fit next winter, so I'm going to have to go and get her kitted out again. But I wish they made onesies like that for us, because
they look
they're
super
brilliant.
warm. Yeah, for those cold days in Val d'Isere, they'd be awesome, wouldn't they? Like those sort of down one-piece suit. It's
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
The
Effie even got a season ticket this year.
Oh yeah.
You know, for under 5 season pass.
Oh, cool.
Which she had to get on the list. Even though she's free, she had to have a pass. So
yeah. That's the rule.
We were
very
excited about that.
That's gonna
It's good fun.
Yeah, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do your... I have to say, I went up to the top of Morjan initially with my daughter, and we had one of those backpacks. And I put her in the backpack, and she just loved the sensation of skiing down. And I saw kind of a couple of the sort of the wise old heads from other ski schools, and they were like, oh, just be careful, you know, like you got your kid on your back. And I'm like, yeah, don't trust me, I'm being as careful as I can, you know, like it's not like I'm doing this, you know, on a whim. But she absolutely loved that sensation of skiing. It's something about being in the turn, you know, like, and yeah, it was really, really, really cool. So yeah, and now she's skiing. That was the worst bit about this COVID thing, that she got, you know, we got sort of cut halfway through the season, just as she'd got from the top of Morjan to the bottom of Morjan. I was like, yes, like we can ski now together, like it's on. You know, I've got someone to go skiing with, and then lift shut. So she was gutted, I was gutted.
Oh, but that's shame.
It is a shame. I've got a sort of wild plan that I think, if I remember rightly, the access to the Cervinia Glacier is reasonably easy from the Cervinia side. From the Zermatt side, it's pretty steep. But I think, and there's quite a relatively easy T-bar at the bottom of Cervinia, isn't there? So you could kind of get...
Yeah, there is.
You could kind of get there. And I'm thinking, it's not
I think
far.
you can.
Yeah.
On the Cervinia side, it's a very gentle slope down onto a flat traverse, and then the first T-bar you get to is the park T-bar. Now, forgive me, they may have changed the layout, but I would highly doubt it. So you get a little T-bar that accesses the park, and it's really short, and it's really steep. Flat, and that's where I remember taking low-level, well, they were ski racers, but low-level ski racers to do all their foundation stuff in there in the summer. Yeah. You don't have to go all the way to the top.
You don't.
But if you did go all the way to the top, you've also got a really flat T-bar at the top, but we're talking about almost being at 4,000 metres, so how she would cope with that, don't we?
Well, that's the only thing that really worries me about the altitude. I really need to do some research, because I remember it was in Chamonix last year, and they said you can't take an under a certain age kid up the Aiguille du Midi or up on the lift, because it goes up in altitude too quick, and it messes with their ears or something. So I don't know.
Yeah, so all my pregnancy birth classes were done in Berg Saint-Maurice, so we're at 850 metres, we're not high, but all the resorts and the stations, the mums were coming down from them, so most of the mums are living at altitude, so quite a lot of chat about altitude, and they were sort of suggesting that it was early stages, first couple of months, going up in ski lifts wouldn't be great, but if you drove up to the same altitude, it's fine. You're just going up slower. So from Berg Saint-Maurice, they were suggesting not to take the funicular up, but to drive up to Les Arcs, for example. Or I guess it kind of ruled out going up cable cars for a while if you can't drive up the side of them. But since then, I think once they're older, it's not too bad. But I guess the higher the altitude, the more it's going to play havoc with ears popping or not popping and that kind of thing. Yeah, I looked into this as well, because obviously it's a big part of our lives, and one of the things we wanted to make sure was that we could involve Effie in our mountain adventures in our lives as much as possible, and not put them all on hold because of her, and how we could do that safely and not be selfish about it, but let her enjoy her time in the mountains. And, you know, for example, flying on an airplane, I think the cabin gets pressurised to around about 2,100 metres, and that happens in quite a quick space and time that you reach that altitude inside the plane, for example. So I think they are capable of changing altitudes fairly quickly, as long as we're not going silly about it and just being a bit mindful and careful.
Yeah.
But that put my mind at ease a little bit. I really wanted to go over to Italy for lunch.
You and me both.
We live under the cold of Petit San Bernard.
Yeah, I love it. I'm over there tomorrow. Yeah.
We love over. But when Effie was born, we had to decide how many weeks we had to wait before we could drive over the top, which is about 2,100 metres.
So
and then I read EasyJet's policies on little kids, and they said you can fly after 2 weeks old. And I was like, well, if you can fly at 2 weeks old, the cabin's pressurised to about 2,000 metres, so we can drive over.
You can get over there. That's fine.
And off we went.
There's a lovely restaurant on the way down there, just as you come into Latagna. It's on the corner on the right-hand side as you come down those twisty roads. I remember having a lovely lunch there. But that's where we'll go through tomorrow. So we're off, listener, off somewhere south on a motorbike tour tomorrow. And on me and a buddy, and we'll be going over the Col de Grand Saint Bernard and then the Petit Saint Bernard, and then you have a choice then as to whether you really go south towards Val d'Isère or you head over into where would it be, like Beaufort, that kind of way. But yeah, we'll see where the road takes us. So that'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right. So
if you do head up with Mermaid de Rosalind to Beaufort, that'll be you driving past our apartment. We're at the very bottom of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We're very nicely located. I mean, as much as I work up in Val d'Isère, we live in Bourg Saint-Maurice just because, well, for summers, for example, we're at the bottom of all these amazing cols, and the links to places are a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about that. So normally we start with you, but let's talk about Val d'Isère. So the majority of your work is based out of Val d'Isère, but you chose what took you there in the first place? I can understand why you'd live in Bourg, which is a bit further down the valley, because there's, I guess, a bit more life in the summer and stuff. But how did you end up in Val d'Isère in the first place?
Well, a little bit unintentionally, by accident, I would say. I actually worked for Malcolm Erskine, who I know you've done an interview with at the British Ski Academy for 4 years as his girls head coach. And I was thoroughly in love with that lifestyle and that job, and it was when he was in Les Houches, so it was quite a long time ago now.
Yeah.
While I was there, Malcolm was always really nice at being flexible and allowing me to go off and continue training and learning, and so I was a level 4. Yeah. At the time, I finished a season. The racing season finished really early, and there was one season we finished start of April. Easter hadn't happened yet. The racing was done. The athletes had gone home. A friend of mine called Blair Aiken, who ran New Generation at the time in Val d'Isère, asked me if I wanted to come out and do some part-time work.
Is Blair the Scottish guy? No. Sorry, of course he's a Scottish guy, but is he the guy who does all the British backcountry stuff? Is that him?
The very man.
I'd love to talk to him.
He runs British backcountry now. So.
Yeah. Okay.
We got quite a lot to thank Blair for, because he planted the seed 1 year we were in Hintertook, so I was finishing my level 4 teach, staying in the same hotel as the trainers. I'd known Blair since we were kids, and he mentioned about ski instructing and coming to work part-time. I wasn't sure, and sort of said, well, we'll need to get there first, need to get fully qualified and part pro and things like that. And I wouldn't say I wasn't invested in it. I was just loving my job as a coach for the racers. But anyway, I ended up going over and working Easter part-time. So part-time just means I'm coming in to do the holidays, 2 weeks, and just having the best time. And the things that really stuck out on a personal note were, I guess, related to the job a little bit. It was quite a change of scene to work a 9 to 5 and then leave the clients behind and go home and have my own time. Yeah. Coaching is very much a lifestyle rather than a job that you can come and go to. So that was, I guess, refreshing. I enjoyed the different levels to teach and coach. I was given a really good kids group, so I was seeing the sort of high end of teaching. At that point, people very much saw teaching and coaching as different things, and I really don't see it that way at all. But I had a high level of kids to coach, even though they were in that bracket of ski lessons rather than race training.
Yeah.
So I was ripping around, exploring this Fast-Killy like I'd never sort of really seen it before. I'd only ever been before as a racer myself and skied the Stad in Teen, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So exploring this huge resort, the weather was glorious, the snow was still really good, and just fell in love with everything about it, really. In terms of, it was just great, the buzz, the atmosphere, and me was in a really happy place, and I think I just realised I want to say found my calling, it sounds slightly cheesy, but I realised how much I was enjoying the teaching and the different flexibilities that gives, and also the different challenges and the progression. So I had some beginners as well that just progressed really quickly, and I'd seen that before during shadowing hours, but they were often done indoors, dry ski, so it was not quite the same as being out on the mountain with them.
Yeah. And
taking them from nothing to, well, you know what it's like when you've taken someone by the end of the week right around the resort, and it's really fulfilling and rewarding. So
yeah, that
kind of swung my thoughts a little bit, and so the next winter I ended up being there full time, and I still feel a little guilty to Malcolm, who I promised that I was never going to leave him. Here I did.
Oh, poor Malcolm.
So yeah, I left and went full time in teaching.
Okay. Ah. And that eventually led. Well, let's carry on with the topic of Val d'Isère before we jump into the rest of it. But what, as a resort, I mean, it's an amazing place, right? It's got great altitude, and there's a wide variety of different types of skiing. You know, there's some trees and there's some kind of rocky stuff if you head over to Teen, isn't there? I suppose the bit that's always struck me about that is it seems so remote, because it's really tucked up right at the end of the national park, the Vanoise, isn't it? It's a long way from anything, and that's always the thing that I love about here. You know, where we are in the Porte de Soleil is like I can jump in the car and I can be in, I don't know, Montreux in half an hour. I can be in Geneva in an hour and a bit, and it's kind of, you're not that far from civilization. That's always the bit that struck me about places like Val d'Isère and Teen, is that they're just so flipping far away. Is that the experience when you're sort of living and working there? Are there many people who how would you say, like, you know, live the Val d'Isère lifestyle, or does everyone kind of live down the valley and then commute up there?
Yeah, so Val d'Isère is right at the end of the Tarentaise, yeah, and in winter it's cut off. It doesn't have the Iseran, the col open there, so there's no exit from the other end of Val. I know people that live all year round up there and enjoy the tranquility that the interseasons bring.
Yeah.
I mean, for anyone that's ever been in a resort that's sort of custom built for a particular season, whether it's summer seasons, winter seasons, they always are slightly odd when they're out of season, because regardless of how many people live there full time, it's designed for a heck of a lot more people than will ever be there out of season. So it can seem a bit eerie and tumbleweedy. I used to live up there for the winters. I did I'd say 6 or 7 seasons living in Val d'Isère, but that was before I lived in France full time. So there's a lot of instructors that are doing the seasonal shuffle, being in Val d'Isère for the winter and then go back to the UK for the summer. And if that's what you're doing, you're as well being up there. You're not driving every day, you're not commuting, and it's a nice place to be in the winter. It's got a right buzz about it. One thing I particularly like about Val is that it's got a lot for families, but equally you could have a group of, stag or a hen do or something like that. They've got lots of things to do as well. It does cater and cover a lot of different groups of holiday makers. But yes, those of us that live out here all year round now, the majority are down the valley, and every morning there is a huge group of us heading up the hill who do try and co-share as often as possible with the driving and whatnot. But it's very common to live down the valley simply because it's on a level all year round. It's more, it's a working town. It doesn't change for interseason. We do see in Berg an influx of people in the summer, actually more than in winter.
Yeah.
But it's got everything we need from schools, hospitals, shops, supermarkets, everything here. So a lot of instructors do pop up and down, and so it's quite a community of us that can help each other out. If you need a lift home, you need a lift up. It works quite well that way. A lot of people worry about the drive and are quite dramatic about how long it takes, but really we're talking 35, 40 minutes from my place anyway up to the car park that we use. And it's just the part of your day, the thing that happens between 7:45 and 8:15 kind of thing. It's a lovely commute to have. There's worse commutes there. So if you're sharing it with somebody, it makes it a lot easier. And it's actually quite nice warm-up time in the morning. Take my time to wake up. And the same on the way down, decompression time. Just for that sort of half an hour to myself in the car. It's quite nice at the end of the day.
No, it's true that I live at 1,100 metres in Valdilier, but every resort I go to is a drive somewhere. Go over to Villar, that's half an hour. And I don't mind that time. It's quite nice. Sit in the car, put your own music on or your own whatever it is you're listening to, and just, you arrive kind of in quite a nice frame of mind, despite what has happened, before you've left the house, as you're probably going to find this coming winter, right? All right, let's.
I also enjoy the fact that in summer I barely use the car, so it kind of cancels itself out. I sit in the driveway and we cycle everywhere, walk everywhere around Berg and whatnot. So.
It's really cool. It's nice to get out of the car. Actually, I'm in the car a lot, daily probably. But we had last summer we booked. We had this thing where we wanted to see what it was like to live by the sea. So we booked an apartment, like somewhere on the coast of Spain, somewhere near Barcelona or whatever. And I literally parked the car up and we just cycled everywhere. Like for a month we were down there. And it was all right. Like I'm not a big fan of Spain, but it was nice to get out of the car and not do anything. Just like walk everywhere or cycle everywhere. It was quite pleasant in its own way, It was all right. Yeah. But tell me about. Let's talk about you a little bit. So you've been skiing all your life. You're gonna tell me that you are another one of these kind of hardy Scottish skiers. Grew up, with the snow going sideways. Horrible conditions.
I was super lucky. I don't really remember learning to ski, which doesn't bode well for. Excuse me. I don't remember particularly learning to ski. I was that young, but definitely was back in Scotland. Dry ski slopes, Glencoe, Glenshee. I think my first proper skiing was in Glencoe at 4 years old. Okay. I can't imagine it was that pleasant. I hadn't unfortunately skied in Scotland for years since. I was very, very lucky to do a lot of skiing abroad. Mm-hmm. So once I was old enough, I started using school holidays to go on ski club camps. Okay. So I was a member of Glenshee race training when I was very young. And so we'd train every Saturday, Sunday up in Glenshee. I mean, I'm talking about being 8, 9 years old. So when I say training, we were free skiing and jumping through gullies and heather hopping, whatever we could manage in the weekend. Mm-hmm. But to be fair, the times that we didn't get to ski were purely because the road was blocked due to snow and never because there wasn't enough snow. Yeah. So, the good fun Scottish weekends, but the reward for in our ski club would be to go away during school holidays, places like Teen during October weeks, or Austria during sort of Christmas and New Year. We used to have races out over New Year in Innerkrems in Austria, and I did start my first camp away really quite young. I think it was sort of 10 or 11, which it was young for me. Every kid is different. Mm-hmm. And that was the 10-day trip to Teen. And it's funny because I used to love Teen and really think Val d'Isère was very snobby, and I didn't really like Val d'Isère, and now here I am absolutely loving it. But it's because I got to know it a bit better and got to know that the restaurants on the snowfront are possibly not the cheapest to go to, and there's nice little gems hidden in the back streets and things. And, but yeah, I was very fortunate. I've been skiing my whole life. I did a lot of other sports, but it got to the point that skiing got a bit serious. When I finished all the ski school levels, my parents asked the manager at Glasgow Ski Centre what should she do next, and he said, well, she could join race training for fun. At that age, they did race training for kids to do things like relay races. It wasn't very serious. It was all in the name of having a good time, and got really into it. And it snowballed. It would take me all day to explain every different aspect, but it was amazing to have the opportunities I did. I'm an only child, and I think that helps. I've got very, very supportive parents who did a lot to keep me on skis. And eventually, after I left school, I went full-time on the British ski team, and I trained a year in the development team, which was a new thing at that point when they got the English and Scottish teams together, took us out and got us a season full-time. And then that got me selected onto the British senior team, which was on for 5 years.
All right,
so it was essentially my job as a ski racer. I was fully committed to it. So
what sort of level were you racing at with the British ski team?
Well, I'm trying to remember the number of FIS races I've started. It's way over. I think it's way over 300. Okay. 200, top end of 250, between 250 and 300 FIS races.
Yeah.
I was trying to punch into Europa Cup, but that was towards my second last season, which is unfortunately when I was recovering from an ACL reconstruction. Lost a bit of my mojo as I was about to try and tap into that level, and never quite got into Europa Cup standard.
Yeah.
2006, I was desperate to go to the Turin Olympics, but again, the Olympics aren't black and white, straightforward. Athletes that qualify for Olympic criteria also need to qualify for their country's criteria to go.
Yeah,
and
I've heard that. Yeah,
Winter Olympics, as summer as well, I'm sure, are very, very expensive. And I couldn't quote you exactly how much it costs per athlete to go, but they couldn't afford to take everyone that would come under the IOC's criteria to go. So yeah, I never went, unfortunately, to the Olympics, which was a real bummer.
Did the option at that time? Sorry, did the option at that time? What I see my role in the podcast is me trying to ask the questions that I would ask if I was listening to this in the car. So, like, so occasionally I have like a flash of inspiration. I'm like, I've got to ask this right now. But would the option have existed back then to pay your own way if you qualified for the Olympics?
No.
It doesn't. So you had to meet the British standard, and then, so in addition to meeting the Olympic standard. Yeah. So actually, if I'm completely honest, the International Olympic Committee, the IOC's criteria, their standards, their criteria to go to the Olympics is actually quite low. Okay. It was fairly easy. So there was about 8 of us at the time that could have gone on that qualification. However, the individual countries then put their own criteria upon the Olympics, and that just controls the numbers that go a little bit. Different countries are in different positions to send athletes. UK was in a position that they really at that time needed to send athletes that were going to go and potentially win medals or do well and do a good job. Yeah. Going for experience wasn't something they were particularly willing to pay for. Yeah, I understand. They didn't want to pay for athletes to go that would maybe just be going for experience. I understand. But I think in hindsight, and I don't want to open a political can of worms here, but in hindsight, a lot of funding came from the likes of UK Sport, and then when you don't have very many athletes going to the Olympics, they don't see that there's that many athletes coming through from grassroots level. Yeah. So the funding did then get cut to British Snow School quite severely following that time. Things started just to get harder and harder. Funding was less and less. I feel it was a shame that we couldn't showcase that we did have a lot of people really knocking on the door of
success. You know, I was on the team at the same time as Dave Riding.
Yeah.
So he was one of the athletes that didn't get to go at that time, but you know, could have done a fairly decent job. But what is a decent job? I mean, having a top 30 in Olympics, so that would be pretty cool to go home with.
Yeah.
But you just don't know what would have happened. The only thing that was hard about it for me was seeing the same girls that move around the circuit together, and you know, you get the rough similar positionings, and you see how people around you are doing and how they finished. And I think it would have been a magical experience, but it's not something I dwell on that I didn't get to go. It's just from then on, I don't feel like I really ever. It was maybe the beginning of the end of the ski racing career that came. 2 seasons after that, but and it's
interesting
to realize where am I actually going with this? Am I ever going to make a career out of it? I was getting older, start to realize that maybe it's time to make some money, and you know, as much as second jobs in the summer at home working in bars and things, it wasn't ideal to support it and so on. So
there's not that many people who make a living out of it, is there really? I think Dave I've listened to a lot of his podcasts recently, you know, things that he's been on, and you know, he's only really just starting to make money out of it now, which is
absolutely,
you know, you consider the amount of work that's gone into that. You know, fair play to him, but my goodness. But I saw the other day that the kind of the funding that's gone into UK
completely blows my mind. How hard he's worked.
Yeah.
Because so Dave and I were on the team at the same time. I retired, I shall call it, from my ski racing in 2007.
Yeah.
Remember, Dave was the first person I told in our training base.
Oh wow.
And he said, you know, go home, have a good think about it, just get refreshed, and you know, make sure you're sure of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty shocking when you hear a teammate decide that they're going to call it a day, because you see so many talented skiers and something happens that just knocks the wind out of them and they hang up their boots. Thankfully, I've never hung up my boots. I'm really pleased.
But you know, it's funny.
It blows my mind. Sorry, yeah,
I was going to say, I saw this the other day. So there's at one of the schools that I work at, there's 3 or 4 kind of really talented skiers who are coming through the ranks in there, and they ski, you know, regionally at quite a good level in the Canton Vaud. And there's out of those two have just decided to quit. They've reached that sort of age, you know, where other things are more interesting. But they're incredibly talented, these 2 kids, and they've just decided to quit. And I sort of said to the third one, who I'm kind of reasonably close with, and I've kind of skied with him a lot as he's been growing up, I said to him, like, you know, a lot of, if you listen to interviews of World Cup racers and stuff like that, they'll say that they weren't even, amongst their peer group, they weren't even the most talented one. They're just like one of the ones that's hung around the longest and kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. And that, you know, I said that to him on the basis that's, you know, effectively trying to say, look, don't give up, do not quit when things like girls and, you know, going to the pub with your mates and stuff becomes interesting, because you've got a real chance to do something amazing if this is the thing that you want to do. If it's not what you want to do, fine, hang up the skis, no big deal. But if it is what you want to do, don't be distracted from your efforts, because other talented skiers like those 2 guys are also going to fall away. And the next thing you know, kind of you're still the one that's sort of making their way through this whole thing. But it's not going to happen instantly. It's the actual experience of guys who make it to the World Cup or even the Europa Cup. It's just a war of attrition, often, with so much like with so much else in life.
Yeah, I believe the experience and the time is more valuable than anything. So being brilliant at a very young age is super cool. But it's really important that there is time to build experience and learn.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll probably had someone tell you, if I knew then what I knew now, as in terms of ex-racers turned instructors, coaches, or just had a few more years on the mountains. It's a very familiar thing that you'll hear from an ex-racer, that if only I knew then what I do know now, and how different I would have attacked the sort of ski racing career, and 100% behind that phrase.
Yeah. But
it's experience and it's learning and it's doing other things on skis as well that isn't just smashing down through gates the whole time. But I've been coaching, I've been teaching, I've been free skiing for fun, I've been ski touring, off-piste skiing, all this stuff that is getting better now. The kids now are experiencing more of the whole mountain. But when I was coming up through my ski racing, we were training gates. We'd literally be disappointed if it was a powder day. It makes me cringe to say that. We would, because we couldn't ski gates, and we had to go and ski powder in some giant slalom race skis, and it wasn't enjoyable. Thankfully, this information, these people that feel how I feel are now the coaches, are now the instructors, and are helping develop all-rounded skiers that also ski race. And that means that if their ski racing doesn't work out, they still have a love for the mountains. They could still absolutely rip around everywhere. They could still get so many other things out of skiing that they didn't necessarily, well, I didn't know at the time existed. So when I stopped racing, my eyes were opened a little bit, firstly to being paid to ski. That was really nice. I can thank Malcolm for that. Taking kids, coaching kids and skiing with them was just brilliant. I remember that first day. I had a powder day in team. I just couldn't believe that someone had paid me money to go skiing all day. It's completely new.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? I think that's something that's really, really important. That I used to look after some of the race training for one of the international schools out here, and it was the same thing. That the guy who was sort of responsible for the school, the head guy, always wanted his kids to do gates, and he wanted his training session. You know, when these kids came up for their days skiing, just wanted to do gates all morning. I'm like, you don't need to do that volume of gates. You know, they need to go in maybe 3-4 runs. Fine, have a look at it for us, another couple. But in, you know, really, we're going to get much more benefit at the level that we're working for of taking these kids skiing and just ski the mountain, ski what the mountain is giving you. If it's an icy day, you're right, we learn how to cope with ice. If it's powder day, let's go powder skiing. You know, if there's bumps everywhere, let's keep bumps. I think it's better to build a more versatile skier in the first instance than someone who only really knows how to turn left and right, you know, in a giant slalom course. Yeah,
I do have a funny memory of being in the Hintertux Glacier in the summer. I was coaching the British children's team at the time. It was quite a number of years ago now, but we had it was the children's team. It was the best for their age group in the country. Brilliant skiers, absolutely ripped it through the gates. But they had a moguls field, a bumps run down the side of one of the T-bars on the glacier that had formed. And so every afternoon we finished by having a couple of runs in there, and it was just so much fun. But it was hilarious.
Yeah,
this is completely new. No concept of controlled absorption and trying to actually ski the bumps rather than let the bumps determine to them what to do rather than them trying to bully their way through the bumps and just be completely responsive rather than pre-planned. It was really good, but it was amazing how tough it was, because you see these skiers and you just feel like, wow, they are incredible on piste, the first piste, but I think definitely the insight's changing, the methods are changing, the training's changing, and that's why I mentioned at the beginning we don't have instruction and coaching now. We're trying to blend through the same things that you deliver. You're teaching as you coach. You know, coaching and teaching, they aren't different things. They, very much used to be black and white. Well, teaching is lower levels and coaching is higher levels. But then I realized, you get advanced lessons all the time. I get people that come and just want to improve their carving technique, or people that want to go off piste and they can absolutely ski anything. I'm coaching them. I'm not. It's more sort of, I would say, teaching would be more of how you're actually presenting the information you're giving. Yes. Coaching might be more fine tuning that information, taking snippets, bits of information. You're fine tuning the performance. Perhaps we could call, if we want to, teaching being more a training style of teaching. But at the end of the day, I like how we are blending the two pathways together, and it's not the coaching and the instruction pathways are now starting to cross a lot more.
Yeah, it seems to be, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Tuning is a great word, and I hadn't really considered it before. You know, you could imagine it was, you know, yeah, you're right. You know, instruction maybe is more like a sort of traditional mechanic who would bashing your car and trying to fix bits to it and stuff like that. You know, putting it all together. But tuning performance is quite a different thing, isn't it? That's quite interesting. It's a great word, actually. I'm going to write that down.
I actually talk about my sessions as not being ski lessons, but coaching sessions.
Okay.
No matter what your level, I'm going to be your coach.
Yeah.
I'm going to coach them through whatever they need coached through that day. And I'm probably going to teach them some new things, or maybe I'm not going to teach them anything new, but I'm going to coach them through something else that, you know what instructing's like. You sometimes end up having a session where you've just been an ear on the chairlift, and then you guide them safely around in between runs. And that's what I love about my job now, is just how varied it is and how different all the clients are and what challenges that brings. And it's lovely. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So so your journey eventually, once you'd blown off Malcolm, in terms of like nice job offer for you, you ended up in Val d'Isère, and then presumably were you working for somebody else, or did you set up your own thing straight away, and how did that coincide with the whole BASI thing? Because you're a trainer for BASI, and I guess you're on the demo team as well?
I am.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I went to the following season, after my lovely part-time party weeks in Easter, I went full-time for New Generation Ski School.
Okay.
And so that was with the British backcountry Scott, Blair Aitken.
Yeah.
And
I'd love it if you
and
hooked
some
me up
friends.
with Blair at some point.
Blair set up a ski school with some of his mates, really. It was lovely. It wasn't too big.
Yeah.
It was just a group of Blair and his mates, so it was a really nice environment, a good team to work with, and I did 4 years with New Gen. Blair unfortunately left after 2. My friend took over as manager. I stuck on another couple of years, but it was getting to the point that I would phone the office to book in clients. So it's difficult, because I didn't ever want to feel like, or New Generation to feel like I'd taken clients from them and then gone away with those clients. And from all beliefs that I have, is that that's not the way they feel. I had some returning clients, but also word of mouth grew, and I had people contacting me more often than I got bookings from the office. So because of our contract, they had to go through the office. Eventually, it was clear as day to everyone that you're probably putting in more than we're giving you.
Yeah.
And they would maybe fill in the odd couple of hours here and there. So I made the decision to leave the school, and there was no bad feeling there, other than me feeling like I didn't, it was a shame to leave them. It was lovely being part of a school.
Yeah.
But also I could perfectly happily work independently, see my schedule for the whole year, and just be on top of my own program, and I was quite happy to take on my own bookings and whatnot. So I went independent, and I've been independent now for 5 years, I like to say. So I work as a private independent ski instructor. My husband is the same. He is also an independent ski instructor.
Yeah.
Kind of came through the same pathway, started with New Generation. We were together at this time that I went independent, so he stayed on a year with New Gen just to make sure I wasn't going to fall on my face. And then he was in a similar position, so he left and became independent. So we have a website called Valdi Ski Instructors. We're not a ski school. We don't employ anybody. It's just us.
Okay.
And we shared a website because it seems nicer to work together than separately. And we do. If I'm full, he's my first choice and of reference. Vice versa. We share clients. We work together. We work separately. It works really nicely.
Okay.
And there's about a gang of about, I want to say 25 independent instructors in Val d'Isère.
Yeah.
Who all kind of work together in a really nice fashion.
Yeah.
That people will send work over your way. Have you got availability? Oh yeah, do, great. If someone sent you work, you'll do your darndest to send them something back.
Yeah.
But nobody's started the commission thing yet, which
good.
some friends find quite bizarre. But it's just not how we've done it. At the moment, nobody's gone there yet, really. I think it's because we're all mates in a way.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people charge commission amongst each other. I know the ski schools do, but there's a group of people that have come through the system together. You know how small a world it becomes, ski instruction, as you work up your BASI ladder, it gets slightly, the pyramid gets smaller of people that you're around. You end up being on a course with someone most of the time.
Yeah.
Yourself, for example, we've never met, but have a huge amount of mutual friends.
Yeah.
And know all the same people. So I don't know how that's happened, but that we've not met.
Yeah.
But, you know, people work together, and if someone scratches your back, you scratch theirs back. And one of the things I love the most about Val d'Isère is it's very friendly, and friendly amongst instructors, friendly between the schools. There are several ski schools. One of the reasons I never started one is we've got over 20 different ski schools, excluding the big, they call the Ski Français or
20. That's massive.
To the big and Oxygen and the big French schools.
Yeah.
And there's about 20 others.
Wow.
It's huge. But everyone gets on.
Yeah.
There's not really, especially amongst, the Brits kind of always hang out with Brits sometimes, but even the British schools versus the ESF, we wave, we smile, we sometimes have conversations amongst each other. I've been to other resorts, it's not ever been quite that friendly, possibly just because I've been a new face, but
that's really interesting.
I like it for that reason. Everyone gets on well.
The friendliness thing is important to me, and here in the Port de Soleil, certainly on the Swiss side, but and also on the French side, everyone waves to everyone else, and the waving I think is important, but you don't get, when I go to Verbier, that doesn't happen. No one waves to anyone else. I don't know, maybe it's because it's me, but I just don't see it. Maybe there's got so much going on, but it's
Well, when I went to Verbier, everyone waved at me.
Oh no, so it's me.
I'm joking. It's not you.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think that they lose that kind of personalisation when the resort becomes so big. They've also got 20 odd ski schools there as well. So it's I guess it's just a question if you can't possibly know everybody. But it's good that you have that kind of friendly vibe though. That's really nice.
It makes going to work a pleasure because I go on the hill and I feel like I'm sort of skiing amongst my mates.
Yeah,
but I've got clients. They've got clients, but we all shout at each other and. It's funny that Val d'Isère is like that. I don't know any of I know the British team instructors, but the team, the ESF, aren't quite the same as the Val d'Isère lot. And I think what really helps contribute to this relationship is the community service that we do every year.
Yeah.
There are events that we all get together. We earn our lift pass basically in return for helping run events and working. I really like those days because we work with each other. I try not to gravitate towards my pals. I try to work with other people, have conversations. It's right at the start of the season, and I think it's a really good opportunity to mingle and make friends with other instructors. And
oh, cool.
The other thing is we could just be really, everyone's got work. We're not oversaturated for instructors. Most of the time, people are busy. And so there's not a lot of rivalry or resentment over people working and people not.
Yeah, well, see how friendly everybody is this coming winter. Maybe that'll be the test, the acid test.
Yeah, exactly. Might all change.
Yeah.
Dog eat dog.
So tell me, your then. So you ended up. You must have then got through obviously your British level 4. Otherwise, you wouldn't be working in Val d'Isère. Were you skiing enough to a points level that you didn't need to do the Eurotest?
Yeah.
So you got the exemption.
So I skied to 30 slalom points and 38 giant slalom points, so I didn't need to do the Eurotest.
Whoa.
Which was
that's impressive. That's some serious skills.
Oh, thanks. I did consider for a while. I did a lot of Eurotest training, several years ago, especially myself and Amanda Perry used to run Eurotest training in Sass Bay.
Okay.
6 weeks in the autumn.
Lovely.
So it's considering being an opener for a while. Unfortunately, never made a move on it, and then I didn't realise you have to. If you're being an opener, you have to become an opener within 5 years of your 5th licence expiring, and I didn't make the move in time. So I basically was too retired. And you know what? It's probably a good thing.
Exactly. Okay, cool. And then tell me what the selection process is to get on the demo team, or is you have to go on the training body first and then the demo team, or is it how does that go down?
Yeah, so this year it changed slightly. So I've been on it's a 4-year cycle in the demo team. So I was in the last trip to Argentina in 2015. We went to Ushuaia and I was on that demo team. And that demo team was open to all level 4 instructors, members of BASI, to try out, and there was a trial day. But more recently, in this 4-year cycle that we're currently in, they're now known as the National Education Team. Yeah. And therefore, the idea was to try and get a little bit more back from the demo team in their term, in their 4-year term. So, you get to go to Interski. That's amazing. It's brilliant. You're not paid to do that, but your expenses are covered, and it's a great opportunity. So that's all irrelevant. But to try and use that net team a bit further than just sharing the information from Interski. So BASI had created this national education team to then help develop courses, create working groups with the training body, and have a little bit more say in the sort of education side of our courses and our training and BASI in itself. So then that meant that the doors were closed and it became something that the training body, you had to be a trainer to apply. So it was open just to trainers this last time round. And we had a selection weekend in Zermatt, which is just great fun, going and being told what to do, which I love. Rather than telling other people. And we ski and partners and groups and individually, and so there was quite a lot of a technical day, and then there was other parts to the selection process, we had to present a topic. I can't remember the parameters of what we had to present. We had to present a topic to the trainers trying out off snow, so it was to test our presentation skills and how we can talk to people. It's so nerve-wracking. I mean, they're my peers, but I never see myself as up there. I'm still learning every day, and every day I pinch myself and wonder what I did to wing myself onto the training body. Trying to do a presentation in front of everyone. It was scary. We had an interview with various different things, all took part over a weekend, and then they made the selections. So,
terrific. Okay. All right.
It certainly makes you sweat. It was scary.
Well, it's good. I think it's supposed to be difficult. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth having. Especially when you look at the levels of the other nations when you go to winter ski. I think it's got to be good. Otherwise, it sort of compromises the quality of what you're presenting, doesn't it? I think you've got to be able to back it up on snow and off. I
mean, Interski, the important parts is the workshops on snow and the workshops off snow that we're delivering. There's the skiing and the demo runs that get videoed, and there's the bit that everyone sees online, but we're out there presenting our stuff I had 2 groups in that day of our delivery, 25 different people from different countries all listening in and taking notes. It's really important that we have the right deliverers and presenters as well as good skiers. The skiing is important, and we tried to use the real everyone for their skills, basically. Those that were exceptionally technically talented, great, you can be leading this demo. We had some brilliant presenters. Everyone skis really well, don't get me wrong, but everyone has slightly different strengths, and together the team was really strong this year, and it was amazing to be part of it.
Oh, that's good. That's really, really good. didn't want to make too much of a big thing, but Lynn was my sort of first female guest on the podcast, and I know a number of you have been in touch with me saying, why aren't I interviewing any female guests? And it's just kind of the way that everything is fallen. My circle of people that I know to interview are largely male, and that seems to be the breakup or the breakdown of the industry. There are more men in it than there are women. Certainly at the level that I'm trying to interview people, which is interesting and innovative ski instructors and ski school directors. That's kind of the remit of the podcast. The whole subject of male and female equality in snow sports is one that's touched on, and it's touched on by people that have written about it a lot more than I have and talked about it a lot more than I have, and I'm not particularly interested in getting into the debate of whether there is a sort of inequality in the industry. In fact, my personal view is that there is equality of entry into the industry, and there is equality all the way through. If you're good enough, you pass the exams, and I don't think that there is some sort of secret cabal of people that are blocking women going all the way through. In that respect, we kind of touched on this in the second half of the podcast. So we talked about some sort of female specific issues, and I didn't particularly want to go down that road too much, because I think if you start trying to, it also sometimes it can come across sort of patronizing in a way. If we're only talking about female specific issues with female guests, but we did touch on things that I think could be useful to everyone. So we talked about the Q angle, which I know that when I did a presentation on that to my own ski instructors last year, a lot of them didn't realize that there was such a significant difference in the makeup of the male and female body. And I think it's important that we educate people on that and show them what sort of things to look out for with regards to their female guests. We also talked about female specific equipment and skis, as well as how we can better teach our female guests when they're with us on the mountain. We touch at the end on sort of skiing after motherhood and sort of perception of risk, that kind of thing, and I think you'll really get a lot out of what we talked about. In terms of the next podcast, that's already in the can. I travelled to Zermatt, and I had a really good chat with a friend of mine, Damien Franson, who skis on the Swiss demo team. That's a brilliant interview, and it also kind of goes down the road of what I wanted to do with the podcast this summer, which was interview people from different countries and get away from being so sort of British Association specific. So a nice Swiss perspective on skiing coming up, and hopefully we're going to do a couple more of those sort of different nationalities too over the rest of this summer. So enjoy the second half, and I will catch you on episode 25. See you later. Okay, cool. Let's so when we talked before, I was in the car on my way back from the dentist, I think, and we got halfway into this topic of you are the female, the premier female guest on the Ski Instructor Podcast, which is lovely. And I've had a few emails here and there, and it's like a handful. Why has it been all men? Why blah blah blah? And I'm aware of it, but I'm also aware at the same time that equality within snow sports is quite a trendy topic. And in fact, I read an article that Derek Tate put out this morning on a similar thing. So let's get stuck into this. But I had some specific questions, and maybe we'll tangent off onto some of these other topics that we discussed when we last spoke.
I'm sure we'll tangent off.
Yeah, I'm sure, no doubt. But what I wanted to know, here's a controversial. No, in fact, I'll give you a softball question first. Q angle in skiing with relation to female clients. Now, I often talk about this to the female guests that we have on the mountain, and there's a lot of light bulbs that go on with my female guests when I explain the difference in the structure of the body of the male and the female of our species. Specifically with relation to how the skis sit on the ground and also how the knees arrive. Men, I think we can simplify it to say men tend to be a bit more straight up and down, and ladies are a little bit more curvy, and that is something that ultimately affects how the female skis. Do you talk about this much in your day-to-day teaching in the winter?
Yeah, I mean, I do, simply because, well, I'm female, and I think I've had a bit more awareness of it happening just from watching my own body and investigating what's going on in my own body. It's not something I was ever taught about, though. And it's funny because when you asked this question, it inspired me a little bit to think that actually maybe I should write an article on this, because there isn't a huge amount of information out there. I couldn't really find anything from ourselves, from BASI, explaining the Q angle. Now, I didn't have a great look. I could be mistaken there, so don't quote me on that. But personally, I was never really taught about what is this Q angle, what's the difference in our structures physically. And it really is quite significant, and it can affect women differently. There can be greater severities and difference in the Q angle. So the Q angle, for those that wouldn't know, is the quadricep angle. You can look at it basically from measuring hip down to knee, and then the line up straight from the patella directly up vertical through the leg, and this will give you this quadricep angle. In other words, women tend to have slightly wider hips, and therefore there's more angle on the knees and more pressure put through the knees. It's how the upper and lower leg bones meet.
Yeah.
Basically. So I'm just filling anyone in that needs to know. Women traditionally have higher Q angles than men, so there's just a little bit more force in the knee, and there used to be quite a lot of research about the severity or the frequency of ACL injuries in particular between men and women, suggesting that women actually are more than twice likely to have an ACL injury just based on these pressures. I do feel that the injury side of things is getting, there are fewer injuries. This is my own personal feeling, and this is simply potentially due to the improved equipment. The fact that people are catching on to it. Perhaps instructors are talking about it more than I expect they are. But it's definitely something that I discuss. For example, knock-kneed, sort of A-frame, blocked hips are very common traits that you see in females. And they'll come up and suggest that, well, I've been told I need to get my hips forward, I need to lean forward, and so on and so forth. But, for example, have you ever been told that your centre of mass is generally a little bit lower and further back in women than men, just due to the more weight around the hip area? So, there's one area that's already a little bit tricky, different to deal with. The other big one, and I think this is the more important one, is that women's leg bones, again, this is different and affects women differently, and some are not affected at all, some are very tall. I personally dislike women's ski boots, but male ski boots are very long in the cuff for some women who generally have shorter leg bones in general, so the ankle flex gets a bit blocked. So if a woman could get a female specific ski boot, it's got a lower cuff, it's going to help her keep her centre mass further forwards. One way of telling I find is if the skier's got a huge amount of calf pinching going on at the back of the boot, but she's not particularly sitting back that much. Potentially the boot's just riding far too far up her leg and could do with a shorter cuff.
We should probably also... Hello? Yeah, sorry, we should probably also say that when you when you look at the difference between a male and a female calf. So the muscles, what are they called? The ones at the back. Excuse my lack of knowledge, but the ones that the calf muscles, in essence, on a man sit much higher up the leg than they do on the equivalent female. They come down more. It's more of a longer shape on the female. Now, I don't know why that has happened evolutionarily, but if you have a ski boot that has too high a cuff, you're simply just not going to be able to get often, and you see it quite often actually with female guests, is that you're not going to be able to get that leg either into the boot, or it's going to be too tight, so you won't have that movement with the lower part of the leg. It's quite an important one to look out for, that one, because there is a huge difference in that part of the leg between the male and the female.
Yeah. In the legs in general, in the body in general, males do have more muscle mass as well. So even a male and a female of the same height and weight, forgive me, I think the average body fat's, there's maybe 5-7% difference in the average body fat, just because males generally have more muscle mass. So things about strength as well come into it. It's not that we aren't as strong for our design, we just don't have the same muscle mass that the male body has. So when we have all these conversations about making allowances for female skiers over male skiers, and do you agree that female skiers aren't as strong as men? Well, the science, physically, if you take a male and a female, same height, same weight, for sure he's going to be stronger. It's just the way he's made. There's other things come into that are different. There's more hormonal changes happen in a female's body, which can then start to play around with the flexibility of a joint and how loose or strong that joint is. And I think even ACLs in general are thinner in women than men. And I've just realised that I had all this information, so I need to go and put this out there. So I might write this all down after our conversation, because it is huge that I do get a lot of female clients that just hitting their head off a wall trying to do the same technical changes over and over again. And actually, if we've tweaked around, played with the equipment, it would make a big difference.
Yeah,
I go to ski test every year. I have been. Unfortunately, it was cancelled this year, but we're very fortunate to go to the SnowPros Industries of Great Britain ski test, and the women's skis and boots that are out there now get better every year. They're really good now. I say now, it's maybe also my attitude that's changed slightly. Going in, I've done the ski test for 7 years. I first turned up as still quite a fresh ex-racer, I suppose, and I got put on those recreational women's skis, and I wasn't very happy about it. But they're brilliant. Less muscle mass, shorter leg ones. Get a shorter, smaller boot. Have a slightly lighter ski. It's still got power. The power in some of these skis now are amazing. And I've got women's specific skis now, which I never sort of thought I would, based on the first ever pair that I put on. But no, they're fantastic.
What do you ski on now? Just out of interest. What are you skiing on?
What's that? Oh, well, my favourite go-to teaching ski at the moment is the Blizzard Black Pearl. Okay. Which has actually changed its name now. So the Black Pearl is now known as, this is going to be really embarrassing. Yeah. I think I'm on a Samba now. Okay. Samba or something similar. It's the same ski. It's a free ridey ski, so it's about 88 underfoot, something like that. It's quite wide, a little bit, not too rockered, but just super easy to ski everything. And if I've got a client that's specifically wanting to carve miles of the piste, I'll throw on a pair of in-betweeny race skis. Yeah. Those lovely skis that you get now when you're not a racer. They don't have to be slalom, they don't have to be giant slalom, they're in between. Yeah, I do. Those GS race carves, Salomon type things. So I've got pairs of them that I love, and every now and again I'll throw on a pair of slalom skis because they're just really fun. Just because you can. And also because I didn't ski that much this season, unfortunately. I was recovering when I had a young baby, and then when I felt comfortable to leave her, I started skiing for 3 weeks and then we got locked down. So that was really sad. But if I spend too long on those big free-ridey skis, I kind of get a bit of slack, shall we say, in technique. So every now and again, I'll throw on a stiff set of skis so that I'm just tuning in and making sure I'm skiing properly. Just sliding around, going sideways all the time.
I've just ordered actually my the powder ski for the winter. I'm going to go, and it's only I think it's the Gasly FX 85. I think it's only 85 mil underfoot. I can't deal with anything that's fatter than that. My knees just won't take it, and I just don't generally like the feeling of having to kind of crank ski over that far to get any kind of response. So I'm generally, most of the time I'm on a piste ski, but yeah, the 85 is just for powder days. I'd rather I don't really like floating on it. I'd rather be in it a bit rather than sort of surfing on top of it. But we don't have the mega mountains here that you do there, I'd imagine. You've got a bit more altitude than we have.
Yeah, I mean, having said that, the stars need to align for an epic day in this Vaskili. We're really snowsure, incredibly snowsure because of the altitude. But that comes with its cons as well. Because of the altitude, the tree line sits really low, so we don't have a huge amount of tree skiing. So when the weather comes in, which it does at that kind of altitude often. So I'm talking about skiing just below 3,000 meters, 2.7 on average for your sort of the Valdezer's got two big plateaus. You've got steep sides out of town and then into these big gulls and plateaus, and that's where all your beginner and intermediate stuff is. So we're talking about all our skiers are going up to that kind of height. And so when the weather comes in and there's no trees around, it gets pretty flat light and quite barren. But also we get a lot of wind at the border with Italy. But we also have our own little microclimate, and sometimes it just absolutely dumps in Valdezer. And down the valley, I live opposite Les Arcs, they might have had nothing. It's amazing. So we traditionally get a lot of snow. Last year was okay. Lockdown started and we had 4 weeks of sunshine, so I'm not sure how Easter would have been for snow conditions. The weather was being nice to us and making us feel like it was the end of the season, summer. But no, we've had a few winters that have just been unbelievable. We've put down 8 meters. There was an 8 meter base at the top of one of the lift out of town. It's insane. We always have enough snow, though. We never run out. So we have quite long seasons. We open the last weekend in November, roughly, until the first weekend in May. So you get a long time, and it's good until then. You might not always be skiing back into town, but unless you're a particularly good skier, those runs are probably not your choice anyway. I haven't had a huge powder day in well, not this year because I didn't have many days.
I was going to say, maybe 2 seasons ago,
It's having the right day and it falling in line with the day off. I think as instructors need to be careful that we get that balance of skiing for ourselves, but also making money when we can, because it's we kind of work for half the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then fill in for the other half with what we can.
Well, I'm looking forward to your article on Q angle and other bits and pieces relating to that, because that's I've presented that in the past as a training session to my team, and some of the guys that were on it, they had no idea that it was a thing at all. I assumed that they maybe it was the how do I say it? Maybe it was the limitations of their interaction with women, that they didn't really know that men and women bodies were different. But it was sort of. It was a real eye opener to them, and actually, once you've seen it, and had it described to you, you kind of see it everywhere, especially in relation to this sort of concept that both legs should be doing the same thing. On left and right turns, they should be sort of getting more towards parallel. Well, if you've got quite a big sort of Q angle, and you've got quite a big hip kind of offset displacement between the hip joint, you're never gonna be able to get those two edges working together at the same angle, or not without great difficulty, because you simply can't force the knee to get over that much to kind of offset the angle. You know, it's a really interesting
I mean, you
topic.
can widen their stance, which might help them find their edges a little bit better and not be quite so collapsed in one of them. But the other knee's never going to be able to match the same angle.
No.
But people are embracing more, taking on board more footbeds. Sometimes even some canting. The boots are getting better. Even binding mounting, if people pay attention to how a binding's mounted, if it's put slightly further forwards, that could accommodate a slightly any kind of hip blockage, back seat problems. I just think it's nice to always be aware of the physical and the equipment differences between males and females before we even start to think about the way that females learn compared to males, or the emotional side of teaching the two genders. We're
going to shortly come to that, but before I start tripping myself up with trying to find the right words, one of the other things that I also have found in the past is that sometimes I don't know whether it's so much the case these days, but to offset that kind of extra mass in the hip area, in the pelvis, which tends to be that the female carries the weight a little bit further backwards compared to a man, is that sometimes ski and binding manufacturers would put like a very big ramp angle in the back of the binding, so that it's almost like you would be standing. I'm not, not a mega pair of heels, but you definitely have your heel raised up high, which would then sort of cause you to stick your butt out a little bit, but also have quite a straight backed upper body. And I've seen that before, and I'm like, well, until we change these skis, we can't get you in the right position, because the ski is pitching you forward the ski binding is pitching you forward into an unnatural position, but at the same time, your body is then trying to adapt to the fact that you're sort of on your toes, in effect. It's really strange why they would do that. I can see why they think that might help, but actually it would be much better just to have a neutral position and let the body do what it needs to do.
Yeah, so actually I've skied in a pair of skis like that where the ramp angle was built into the binding at the ski test. And we're normally testing in a group of 3. We normally keep our mouths shut until everyone's had a go in them, just so we're not preempting anything. Everyone gets an honest thought in case, not everything suits everyone.
Yeah.
But
sure.
all 3 of us, at the end had done the rotation, and we all it's like skiing on a pair of high heels.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And then the back, which we're kind of, females can sometimes be a little bit guilty of rounding the back, sticking, tilting the pelvis forward, so there's a little curve in the lower spine, almost sticking the bum out a little bit, where we're trying to more rock the pelvis backwards and tuck the tailbone more. It would be impossible at that kind of ramp angle. I don't, if I'm honest, know a huge amount about ramp angle, simply because I don't feel like I've much experience in it. You definitely feel the manufacturers trying to play about doing different things with those women-specific skis, which is why it's a really interesting category to test. So sometimes they'll have a really soft tip, kind of all right underfoot, but really stiff in the tail. It makes for a really interesting ski down. I find a really stiff tail would just end up, it's not helping as, I don't know if the theory behind it is to support this extra weight in the back, or
I don't know,
but you find you get stuck there and you just can't move, and then you finally get onto the front, you find the front of the ski, and it just kind of collapses, so there's nothing there, and then you finally come through the end of the turn, you get stuck there again. It's always a bit bonkers. What? Good fun.
Just out of interest.
I'm trying to put all that into words as well, though. We're trying to figure out what's right. This is what I'm feeling. How to actually explain that? It's tricky.
What? Just out of interest, what do you like in a ski? Like, what sort of what characteristics do you like in a ski? Like, did you like the nose of the ski or the tip of the ski to be stiff? How do you like it to be when you're skiing, say, your favourite ski, whatever that might be?
So I don't like too much stiffness in the very front of the tail. because I like it to be a little bit playful and a little bit easy to use. So I think as time goes on, I'm slightly getting a little bit lazier / weaker / don't know. But I used to answer this question like, oh, I love a stiff ski. Really want a stiff ski. Like, give me a slalom race ski and I'll be happy. Yeah. But now I'm like, well, I'd like something that starts the turn quite easily. You don't have to really work the front tip of the ski. So something a bit playful, slightly lighter in the front end, but then has some good stability underfoot, so that if you did feel like you want to take it right over onto the edge, get your feet a bit further away, push a bit harder and get a real push into the ski, it's going to give you something back. And also then just not feeling like you've got too much out the back end of the ski, but enough to support you if you did happen to fall back seat. Not that I would ever fall back seat at the end of a turn, but, you know, strange things happen.
It's okay to do that, you know. It's okay.
And I'm kind of, over years, learned to love a wider ski. I totally understand your point you're saying about not being too wide and just feeling like you've really got to work so hard to tilt the ski. So something in the, you know, you're going super narrow, under 70 mil, you could get over into an edge really, really easily. But if you're wanting to bounce around in some of the all-mountain, choppy terrain, bumps here and there, I do like to have something slightly wider. So I'm trying to think where the ultimate width is really, but certainly between 70 and 80 mils would be good. It just depends. Like, I find this black pearl that a ski is pretty wide, but it doesn't feel the width underfoot. I don't know how they do it. It's quite magic in my eyes. That's why I really like it. But yeah, width that's there for playing around, so I could flatland, swivel, and have a laugh when I'm teaching. I feel like I can switch off and drift a bit. But if I was to turn it on, there's some support there, and it'll still carve and hold an edge and give something back at the end of the turn. So I guess still stiffer is more preferable for me, but with a wee bit of playfulness at the front end.
I think playfulness is an important word, and that's literally the single word that I'm looking for when I'm selecting a ski. Like, it's got to be a sort of, playful is exactly the right word. It's the exact word that I use. And strangely, last year I was skiing the head. Mainly I skied last year on the Head I Race Pro, and it was just like, it didn't want to play really. All it wanted to do was carve, and that was it. Like, all it wanted to do. And it was a really, really strange ski, and it had also that sort of square tip, which the Head didn't used to do. They brought it in the last couple of years, but it's got that sort of, do you know what I mean? It looks like a sort of, I don't know, how would you describe it? Like a sort of, I don't know, like the top has been cut off, so it's not rounded, it's like square at the top.
It's been filed down in a way.
And the effect that had was that when you laid the skis over, they sort of somehow engaged the snow, and they grabbed the snow and sort of pulled the ski in. Really, really strange. If you can see what I was doing with my hands, it would be a sort of choppy pulling in to the turn.
Yeah. So,
and I didn't like that.
I was feeling that sensation when you have over-tuned edges, when you sharpen right up to the tip and right to the tail, and it's really grabby and aggressive, and you feel like you don't do anything and the ski's wanting to go, and you're like, I'm not asked to go anywhere yet.
No, exactly. And on turn entry, I like to kind of, I don't know what's the word, not feather the edge, but I like to feel my way in, feel for grip kind of thing. And I didn't like the ski making that decision for me. It was sort of, as soon as it went on edge, it was like, bam, right, we're turning here. So, well, hang on. I didn't really quite mean that. I like to let my feet drift away from me a little bit on the entry to the turn. And it just didn't let you do that. So now I'm on something with a bit more of a curved edge.
I that's why I love that slightly softer tip. And even my racy skis and the skis I'd use for piece performance, I do dull the edges quite a lot. I tip and tail them quite a bit.
Yeah, me too.
Possibly more than most people. There's nothing worse than having a really grabby front end, and the ski test is difficult for that because there's obviously there's 30 odd brands there. We're not testing every brand, but that's impossible. But the ski tuning can make an absolute huge difference to ski. And you take them back and you're trying to sort of tell them, well, as nicely as possible, it feels a little bit like this. I liked it, but there's no point in me just saying it was great. We want to all learn from this, so here's what I think. And you sometimes think it's tuning, so they'll take it and they'll try and adjust it, and then they'll give you it back and it feels the same, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's just
maybe it's not that. It's funny, I had a pair of skis. I had a pair of skis off of Andy Freshwater. Hi Andy, if you're listening. And he told me this pair of skis, nice enough pair of skis, and but I went out and skied them. I didn't bother to reset everything to how I would normally have it. And my God, I couldn't ski them to save my life. Like, I think he's a tip to tail man. Like, he wants it sharp all the way along the thing. And I couldn't ski these things to save my life. And it was the same with the head ones, actually, when they came out of the factory. So I changed all the angles to what I would usually have, which I can't remember what it is. And I also deburr about, I don't know, it's at least 3, 4, maybe 5 inches off of the tip and the tail. And then the heads became a little bit easier to ski, but they still did this grabby thing. They were, it was exactly like you were just saying. It was like, this is a nice ski, but it just wasn't. It wasn't that sort of playful ski that I was looking for.
Or it's just an absolute tank. It's like a race car. It doesn't have any gears other than going for it.
Yeah.
Like, if you skied around in a slalom ski the whole time, it'd be exhausting.
I know.
I don't know how I did it as a racer. But now really, really enjoying the sort of... I'm not saying mincy skis. The skis that you can drift a bit and relax a little bit on. Yeah. That's my faves at the moment. But...
yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's you do get skis that are definitely one-trick ponies, and you're happy to do whatever you tell it, and that's a ski that always rates well because it's just an all-rounder.
Yeah.
This ski's been amazing at long turns, going it as fast as possible, but when I then try to come down something quite steep and just rotate and pivot my feet, I just couldn't do it. Then they don't end up ranking that well in their all-round as... ranking in the ski test. So it's an interesting thing to do. I love it, and it's good to help with the clients that are always asking questions about kit, and I'm up to date with the most recent kit. Just feel like I've really missed it this year. Bit out of it.
Well, I imagine
research.
Yeah, you probably won't be the only one, but let's jump back into male and female skiing. Here's the one that I really wanted to get your advice on, because I think it goes more into the psychological, which is if I'm a male instructor, how can I better relate into what the female skiing experience feels like on the mountain? I think I've got a fairly good idea, but I'd love to hear it from you as to kind of what that looks like, and why there are maybe, this probably relates into why there are so many kind of female specific ski camps now with female trainers, because I think probably the understanding there is of what your mindset is. Males tend to be kind of quite task focused, and it's kind of we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and it's about doing and achieving things. And I'm not saying that that's not the same. Here you go, I'm starting to trip myself up already, but I'm not saying that that's the same. But I think the female skiing experience is different, and I'd love to know more about what that kind of looks like.
Yeah, no worries. I have done a few women-specific ski camps in the past, and I guess if I was to line myself up in front of that group and then a group of all males, the different approach I'd take, I think one of the things is I don't feel... I might trip myself up here. I don't feel women need to always show off as much as sometimes the male bravado encourages. So if I took a group of dudes out on a stag do and is following around, for sure we wouldn't stand and chat about what's about to happen. I'd give them some basic guidelines on route selection. That we're going to go down here, there's a left turn, we've got to take it, guys. This is a type of gradient. Let's go, off we pop, and we get that need for speed in there. And then as they've had a bit of a blast, I'd probably then start to try and please encourage and interject some technical stuff if I could. It's been horribly generalistic.
No, it's okay.
So
Generalisms is
that
great. Yeah. You're not going to offend anyone here.
If I had a group of women in front of me, I think we'd maybe chat a little bit more about how we're going to ski within control, how we're going to ski technically well. I think women like to look good when they ski. I think they like, well, I know that I personally, myself, and a lot of the women I've taught like to ski in control, and control is the absolute main point in their minds. Right, what can I do for you today? I lose control in this kind of slope, or I understand what you're saying, but I just don't quite feel in control enough to try that. And they're really happy to spend a bit more time working on their technical ability before they're going to interject and add the speed. I think coming back to the two different groups, if I was to have them hypothetically, there's not that much competition between a group of women. Certainly the groups that we've had have been so sweet and incredibly encouraging of one another. And they'll stand. I've done some women-specific race course camps that were for recreational racers that are trying it for the first time. It's probably encouraged a lot of support, but they'll stand at the top and they'll encourage each other and they'll clap each other down. And there has been competition, don't get me wrong, especially with those that are up there and feeling really confident in it and feel that they've got the control to then let the brakes off. But I think a group of dudes at the top of a race course would all be all about that timing and what time are we going to get and who's going to win, and
100%.
Let's just get down here and go for it. I think at the same time, not all women. Some women really enjoy to ask how they are, be asked how they're doing, talk about their feelings quite a lot. I have a lot of heart-to-hearts on chairlifts with female clients.
Is that in relation to skiing or in general? Because my experience is it's also in general. It's like what's going on in your life kind of thing.
As chattier lessons. So we might not be talking about skiing on the chairlift, but we still have this chattier style of a lesson where once we come off the lift, we're talking about feeling a lot more, a bit more of a holistic approach to, right, what are we going to try and aim to feel down here, and let's as much as they're wanting to improve technically, some women do that through what they want to feel certain things, and that's coming back to feeling in control. So it's a bit feely. Having said that, not all females want to be asked how they are all the time, and they just want to get better. There can be a lot of underlying pressure. I personally get a lot of clients who have another half or a family they've come away with that they're not as good as, where their kids have overtaken them, and they're starting to feel the pressure, and they're succumbing to that pressure a little bit to be keeping up in terms of speed. But actually, if you look at the group that are skiing, I'll say mum, but the female, the mum of the group is the best skier. She's just not the fastest. She's just not able to release the brakes. So for that reason, I talk a lot about the feelings. What is it that's holding back the ability to just let the ski drift a little bit? It's okay to skid. Trying to get skidding to occur. Skidding, I have so much respect for skidding. It's a really good thing to skid. A lot of people, I know if I was out mountain biking and I skid on the bike, I feel scared, and it's something I need to learn how to do. I relate a lot to things that I'm learning to do, and mountain biking, downhill biking is one of them. So it really helps in my teaching. So I'm out, and my husband will say, you just got to get used to skidding a bit more. I'm like, I know that, but what can I do to allow myself to let that wheel skid and not be gripping? And it's been really good for me in teaching that intermediate level, that they've just not quite got the ability to let off slightly and let the ski drift, let it slide. They've got to have the edge cutting the snow the whole time. So I do find, for those reasons, we talk about feelings a lot more than I would with a male client. But obviously I have both opposite ends of the scale, and sometimes I have clients who are male, have skied for a very long time, and are actually just like, it's time to get better. Because I've realised that I can ski really fast on the slopes, but you took me off piste just then and I couldn't handle it, and actually need to learn how to ski a bit better to be able to ski more terrain and more options, and get off piste and get all mountain and get down a bump slope rather than just hooming it down a piste.
With just in respect of skidding more, and those clients that could do with being in the skid a little bit more. How much? I mean, it's one of the things that I've been thinking about for quite a while, and it seems to be generally under-taught. And I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. Is that it seems to me that rotation of the ski is generally under-taught by, I would say, other people. I'm sure there are people that teach it a lot, but you can get quite a lot about, you're right, you can dig your edges in and check stop like a lot, but actually skillfully steering a ski around a curve, skillfully rotating a ski around a curve doesn't require as much edge, but also gives you a whole bunch more control because the edge is working all the way around the curve. It doesn't seem to be very widely taught, and I don't know who's not teaching it, but it seems to be forgotten a lot, rotation.
It's our bread and butter, being able to skid a ski, I feel. I mean, if you couldn't let that ski slide around a gentle edge, but sort of feathering the pressure as you need to, but just generally cruising. It's a cruisy turn. To not be able to do that, to be always trying to fight to get the edge to cut the snow rather than slide across the surface of it is exhausting.
It is exhausting.
And I've got so many clients that come in absolutely knackered. They're exhausted because they've fitted in 50 more turns than they needed to in the run because they haven't allowed the turn shape to stretch down the hill or to stretch longer in general because they're getting the ski around the corner and getting that grip and feeling the control. And I don't know if it's the self-preservation instinct that is stronger in some people more than others. I could say it's probably also stronger in women than men, but generally it's this fear of letting go slightly. And I feel a lot of people want to be in 100% control all the time, but on skis that's not possible to be in 100%. You've got to. I try and talk about just giving away a few percentiles of control. I can't stop instantly on a button on the snow. I can know that I've lost a bit of control and I'm going to get over to that side of the slope where it's a bit flatter and I can start to lose a bit of speed. If I still need to stop, I'll stop. If I've put in a big skid and slowed down and I've got my balance back, I'll continue. But it's that trust in that it's okay to lose control, say on this turn here at point A in the slope, and it takes you to point B 50 meters down the hill before you get everything back under control again. That's really hard to allow people to feel or to trust themselves in knowing what to do, and not panicking and not just hitting the eject button or sitting back and then it getting worse as the front of the skis get light. It's hard, but to me, skidding is life. I don't know. I can understand when I first did my first ever BASI teaching exam, they spent, it was the old level, what would we won, the old level 3? Yeah. Or it went 1, 3, 2, 1, didn't it? Yeah. So it was what is now level 2, is that right? Anyway. Well, I have no idea. And I spent pretty much the training week and the teaching exam week. The trainer spent 2 weeks just teaching me how to skid. Because this ex-racer coming in, they just had to carve everywhere. Yeah. And there's a little pair of slalom skis on, and carving the bumps, runs, and everything, trying to do slalom between the bumps. It's like, right. And it was determined to crack it. It was Jazz Lamb.
It all comes back to Jazz Lamb, doesn't it? Everything.
He spent so long just like, do less. Just.
Yeah.
Hit me and I was like, this is so easy. Skiing is now so easy. I don't need to do anything. I just like skidding around because it was so different to carving and performance turning every corner that there was to do on the hill. And so I really do feel, I agree with you. I feel it's undertaught. This season I was lucky enough to work with a lovely couple. And they were quite frustrated after the first lesson, and of course I take that quite personally. But so we had a discussion: what's going on? What are you feeling? Let's try and reflect a bit. And they weren't. It turns out they weren't frustrated with me, but they were frustrated with some coaching tips they'd had in the past that they'd been working on for the last 5 years. Which was someone and I'm not sure on the nationality.
Okay.
I don't think they were British, but I'm not sure. And they had spent the whole time on their week of lessons teaching the skid out of them. Right? They've got to cut the snow, and you've got to let your ski cut an edge. You want to leave a clean track in the snow all the time. And was basically trying to get them to find an edge angle at the top of the turn. So that early phase of the turn, trying to roll over onto their new edges, which is really hard unless you're going really fast. Yeah. And well, these things that were just really tricky. And then I came along and I'm starting to encourage the skid. I'm like, guys, things could be easier for you if you allow your ski, just turn your feet and allow them to slide a little bit till you feel that you've got some balance and can press through that ski and get some grip coming into play. Don't rush it. Don't feel stressed. And they're like, this is the opposite to what we've just been taught. Between countries, perhaps there are different, well, I know there are, having been at Interski, we're not all different, but some of us are very different. You know, the Canadians, the Americans, ourselves, the Kiwis, the Australians, we're all running from very, very similar manuals and information. I could add other people in there, but I remember once going to the Korean, first Interski, I went to the Korean workshop, and it's completely different. Their style of skiing is based around their clients' wishes. In Korea, all their slopes are very narrow, and they're all artificially made, so they're just long strips of snow. So there isn't a long turn in their curriculum, shall we call it, in their progression. There's no long turns needed because they don't long turn anywhere. So they're doing short turns all the time, and they think it looks better to jam the feet together. So they jam the feet and legs together. They're super close, and they wiggle a lot, and they're very, very quick turns. And then their arms are out wide in a bit of a sort of crucifix position. Because again, it's what the clients think looks cool, and they want to be able to go in a straight line down the hill and wiggle from left to right. So their progression was really interesting, because it went from snowplow in a straight line. Then, if you can imagine snowplowing in that straight line, but then step your left ski to meet right ski, and sort of step, skid, turn, and then back to snowplow with both feet, and then step the right ski in to meet the left, and then slowly miss out the snowplow phase, and suddenly you were getting towards this short turn, and that was it. And it was really, really fast pathway. But they explained that is what our clients, our guests want. So our system is based around that. No, none of them, but they're not teaching in Europe. They're not teaching a big flat open slopes. So they're on these little narrow strips. So that's how their pathway was designed.
Oh wow! I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's where it came from. All I do is kind of look at those videos on Facebook or whatever, and I'm like, wow. You know, that's not, it's not for me, but it's a way of doing it. I didn't realise it came from that, so fair play.
Yeah, so then if they do these technical comparison videos, which they're my first Interski, second 2 Interskis ago, Great Britain were included in, which was the first time ever, which was really cool. I'll just like to say it was myself that did the email role. But no, it's really cool to be asked. Absolutely terrifying again, because you're like, I can ski, but suddenly you're in this technical comparison video. The Canadians. It was awful. It was terrible, terrifying. But I kind of liked it because it was pressure, and it's a bit more like the way I used to feel about racing. You get that buzz of adrenaline and nervous excitement. But anyway, they get asked to do, you've got to do a basic parallel turn. You've got to do short turns, long turns. We had some funnels in there and things to do. So, bless them, the presenters that come from a country like that will be amazing at skiing. So they will be able to achieve those tasks. It just might look a little bit funky. I'm with you. They do sometimes.
Let me just carry on with a couple of little things that you said there, because I appreciate the insight into the kind of the female mountain experience. With regards to kind of releasing the brake and kind of feeling in control, the other thing I really wanted to ask you was about motherhood, actually, and I'm relating it to my own experience of fatherhood, which is kind of probably a very different experience. I know it's a very different experience from the female to the male, but how do you think it will affect your appetite for risk going forward? Because I certainly don't drive as fast as I used to. I certainly have one eye on... So, for example, on my motorbike that I'm going on tomorrow, I've got 2 of my daughter's hairbands on the little brake reservoir that sits on the handlebar, which is kind of my reminder that I've got to get home, you know? Like, not to be an idiot. And it's weird. Like, everyone says, oh, yeah, you know, it will change your perspective on everything forever. And you sit there and you think, oh, yeah, it's just rubbish, like what you're saying. And it's not, you know, it's not true. And I've come to realise that. And it's sort of super interesting. How has it changed you personally up to this point, and how do you think it will change your kind of demeanour on snow in the future?
Interesting. On snow, as I did go back onto skis, and I got 3 weeks or so of teaching in. I got a couple of rips around a bit faster than my lesson pace, so I could ski for myself a couple of times, not much, but I was wondering how it would feel. I was wondering how physically I'd feel and mentally I'd feel. So firstly, physically, I skied a lot of last season pregnant. So I skied I taught up to 5 months, which luckily coincided with pretty much April, Easter time. There was no pressure on that. I just felt good. If I'd stopped feeling safe or good about it, I would have stopped and that would have been fine. But everything stayed neat. I felt secure and I just chose my lessons carefully. So I wasn't running level 3 technical BASI exams at 5 months pregnant. I was just cruising around on the nursery slope with the little girl. So, you know, but I did find my own skiing was a bit funny last year, especially as I got further along with centre math.
Oh yeah, of course.
Changed a lot. I was just stuck on the back end of the skis. I could not get forwards enough. I couldn't fit into my ski trousers. That was the most dramatic. Doing up boots. No, the skiing physically actually wasn't hideous. I did a lot of projects last winter, including going to interski, and I felt fine to do that. Towards the end, balance backseat was a bit funny, and just balance in general. But I enjoyed skiing right up till I stopped. Went back this year, obviously kind of back to normal, but not really. I mean, it was still, she was 5-6 months, so the body still got a bit of time to go, and I just tried to respect that. Another female trainer actually called Lynn said to me, just give yourself a break. Remember, you know, you grew a baby for 9 months, your body needs 9 months to recover. Allow that at least. So I was like, okay, not going to push it. And skiing wise, physically felt okay. I was worried that I was going to feel really unfit. I was a little bit worried about joints and being a bit loose and hormonal changes and stuff. But actually, I did a couple of runs a bit sheepish, worrying about these things. And then I just got fully inspired into feeling normal and mentally didn't have any worries really. Actually, if I'm totally honest, I haven't found that motherhood has affected me on a set of skis. If I'm on piste and ripping around, I'm happy to go for it pretty fast. Where it has changed my perspective is probably off piste and what choices I'm making about going off piste. I haven't had a huge amount of opportunity this season, but that to me is where the risk is lying. I'm aware that I'm talking from a person that has been skiing their entire life, so I feel very, very comfortable in a pair of skis, and so that's definitely going to be different for everyone. Skiing is something that I feel so at home with, and I'm really pleased that motherhood hasn't changed that. I feel just as happy on them as I did before, but the environment choice is definitely affected. Like you say, just making important decisions and remembering and just being aware that it was important before. God, it was important to select proper terrain to go off piste in, but it suddenly became, I did have one day out with my husband, and it became so apparent that we were both off piste, and I got really freaked out. I wanted to go back on the piste. And then for those that are maybe, okay, well, someone's sitting listening to this thinking, well, I haven't got skiing from a young age. I didn't learn to ski as a could walk kind of thing. I then relate to that on my mountain bike. So I started learning kind of downhill biking a couple of years ago. I'm still very new at it. I had a year off last summer, being pregnant, and it's something I'm still learning, and I find it very useful as I said before, for my teaching. But that's where I'm not taking as many risks, and I've found that motherhood has just kind of reined me in a little bit on the bike, because it's something I'm not as happy with, I'm not as at home with. Technically I'm not as good at. I'm still learning lots, I still fall off lots, so it's just reining me in a little bit. I'm not as going for it as much as possible. I used to fall off and be like, it's fine, I'll fall off, and but now I'm like, if you fall off and you hurt yourself, it's going to make everything really difficult for Effie and trying to look after her with a broken something. And it's definitely in the back of my mind more with something I'm not as technically good at.
It's really it's been a very interesting thing for me. Like, I've never really given that much thought to the future, really, until Zoe came along, and now there's a file on my computer that's literally marked. It sits on the desktop, which this is going to sound weird. I think I probably can out myself as a weirdo, but there's a file on top of my computer that says now, if I am dead. So, my wife can click on that and everything's in there, like passwords to everything, and there's the same file that sits above my head, so just in case. But then I got round to thinking, well, what happened if there was a car accident? So we were playing golf this morning, right? Myself and my wife. And we came back and said, what happens if there was a car accident and we both kind of didn't make it home for whatever reason? Like, what happens? How does that all work? And I said to my wife, do we know anyone who works in the police? That we can ask, what the procedure is, because how do they contact grandparents or guardians or whatever? How does that all go down? And I'd never ever considered this stuff before, and it's really
especially if they're not in this country.
No, that's right. Well, I was going to ask you about that too. So you're presumably your parents, Dougie's parents, don't live in France, I guess, or do they?
No, they're all back in Scotland. No, all our family's back in Scotland.
Yeah, you see, we got the same thing. So Bryn's mother lives in Montreal, Canada, and my parents live in the UK. And I always say to her, we're doing this the hard way. I speak to my friends, and they're like, oh yeah, we went out this weekend, and grandparents were looking after this, and we went and did this, that, and the other. I'm like, I'm so jealous of you, because we're on our own here essentially. I think we were 2.5 years in or something, or 2.5, maybe a bit more than that. Years in before we had a night off, we managed to get a babysitter to stay the night. It's like, wow, this is just, you don't realise how important it is having those guys around. Yeah,
I think lockdown has helped speed that up a little bit for us. And it's because we were Effie was very fortunate in that one way or another she saw, she has two grannies and a granddad, and she saw them every month of her life up until she was about 6 months old, just by the way that we were doing trips back and forth, or visits out here. And then it's been months now. So much has happened, nearly 4 months, and it's hard to realise. I've realised through lockdown just how rubbish it is to be so far apart. It's not easy.
No.
Even I know in confinement we could have been 5 miles apart and not seeing each other, but it's just that. It's going to sound awful. It's not the relentlessness of it, but it is in a way that it's very different. It's a huge adjustment, and any parent that's listening will know that. But anyone that's not a parent yet, it is. Everyone will tell you it's going to change your life. It's really great, but you just don't know what sleep deprivation is until you have a kid and think, oh well, I was pregnant and I didn't sleep much during pregnancy. That's not even comparable.
No, that's a warm up. Yeah.
And just you'll learn patience, and you'll learn that you'll have patience you didn't think you had, and you're thinking, gosh, this is all sounding a bit dramatic.
Yeah.
And then you get on with it, and you enjoy it. But in the last few days, actually, I've just been reflecting back. I'm like, yeah, actually, we have learned patience. Yep, I'm fairly sleep deprived, and it's quite difficult. We recently just popped down. I say popped down because of our location. We can get to Italy quite easily.
Yeah.
We went to the coast on Italy for a holiday and a bit of a change of scene. So it's a long weekend. But a holiday with a 10-month-old is not a holiday like a holiday used to be. And it was really eye-opening when we came home absolutely shattered.
Yeah.
Because, babies on beaches, that was tough.
Yeah.
You could not, not even 5 seconds unattended, or there was
I know.
A house full of this gravelly sand in there getting chewed down, and I was like, oh man, trying to protect from sunburn but not get heat rash, and it was a big learning curve. I realised, what it's like to actually, even our conversation, we've been planning this for a couple of weeks now, and Dougie'd take the day off work so that Effie can be out of the house, and even as though this is nap time for her, it's never guaranteed she's going to sleep right through. And then, hang on, I'm going upstairs to resettle her, or she's screaming in the background. So, it's just, you just got to rethink how you do things a bit. But it would be nice to have family nearby, absolutely. Especially getting out for just doing a wee bit of original me things, like me bike ride or something like that. That's what I found really inspiring about the skiing, and I think I'm just going to quickly revert back to that question about how you feel on skis after having a baby and as motherhood changing that. And this year, when I did go and do that first lesson back, having had Effie, I was absolutely buzzing after it. I mean, buzzing. I came home and Dougie was like, what happened? And I was like, it was just so inspiring, because I went on that hill and I get quite, if you haven't can't tell already, I get quite into things, long answers and whatnot, but I get right into my teaching, and so my brain was just really focused on these clients. I didn't think about Effie for 3 hours, and we're up on the mountain and everything was the same. The mountain was the same, the skiing felt the same, the snow felt the same, the teaching, it was the same as things were before she came along. But having a baby is so cataclysmic, like it's such a thing to happen to your life, it's massive. Everything changes. So then to go on the hill, and of those 3 hours where I felt like nothing had changed, it was amazing, and just ass buzzing, and I was so gutted that we didn't get the rest of the winter. I was even meant to be in Hintertut doing some BASI courses at the end of the season, and we were all going to go. So that Effie was in Austria, but I mean, it's what it is.
It'll be all right. I think I'm the more and more of this goes on, I'm convinced that it's this isn't going to happen again. There's just not the amount of resources for the government to keep people at home anymore. It's just, at some point as a society we've got to say, well, right, we've just got to go on. We can't just keep hiding. That's not going to work. That's not the spirit that got us to this point here. To where we are. So
it feels a bit like that. They've just gone, right,
they've just had enough.
We've got to get back to this now.
No, it's true. Same in Switzerland. Everyone's. I know that UK's still a bit weird, but in this country, like, you wouldn't even know. In Switzerland here, you wouldn't even know it had happened, apart from a bit of disinfectant here and there, and the odd person wearing a mask. Like it's just like business as usual. It's really weird.
Well, Italy was very interesting. It was very apparent that it happened there. But it was very black and white, very regulated. This is what you do. So you had to wear a mask in any public building, inside any public space. Masks had to be worn. So everyone would walk around with their mask handy, because you'd be having it on and off. You don't need to walk the street wearing it. But also every entrance to everywhere and in random places, there's gel available and stands to go and wash your hands. So it's just in your face all the time. Not rammed in your face, but it just reminds you that actually, something went on and we need to be a bit mindful of this. But it was really clear what the rules were. We're actually joking because people were walking around wearing masks in different ways, in between shops. So, do you leave it hooked around your ears and you have it as sort of a chin bra, or do you hook it around your wrist as a bracelet, or do you have it with the sort of dangle out your pocket, looking cool kind of thing? So I had mine hanging from the pram, but it was super clear. Whereas where I live in France right now, some shops it's obligatory to wear a mask, some shops it's not. So it's just getting a bit grey. And then in the UK in themselves, the rules have been different between all the different home nations. And Scotland, as we record this, have only really just opened up. At the weekend was the first time you could go, I think it was the weekend, more than 5 miles on a non-essential journey. And then some beer gardens started opening up and things. Or no, they've not in Scotland, sorry, they're still to happen.
Yeah.
But they're a bit behind England, so, you know, where our parents are, it's still very much new to be out and about. It's very new.
Yeah, it's very strange. Very strange.
But we'll see what happens to our industry.
Yeah.
I think the tourists are coming here. We're busy in Berg. The tourists are coming. There's British tourists here as well. Mm-hmm. The quarantine's been lifted. So I have faith, because I like to be an optimist, that we'll have good winters.
Yeah. We'll see. I think you've got to be. All right. Where can people find you if they wanna find you when they're next in Val d'Isère looking for a ski instructor? Where can they go?
So the best bet is we've got a website which is skiinstructors.com. There's a few magazines float around Val d'Isère, like the Guide to Val d'Isère. This guide and number 2, and so we've got details in there, or online. Literally just throw in my name, which is Lynn Mill, ski instructor, into Google, and it will come up with a Facebook page or the website, or some form of contact detail that you can get in touch with. So,
all right,
yeah,
cool. Well, I'll make a note of those in the podcast notes, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day and your schedule to have a chat. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's been nice to discuss something that's not coronavirus or babies.
Yeah, exactly. It's great, isn't it?
But
things are returning.
Definitely, it's got my brain working. I'm still suffering from sleep deprivation, so I hope some of that's made sense and not been too waffly. But you know, it's good to get back into things.
Well, if you're really really smart now, what you can do is probably get in another half an hour nap before Dougie gets back. That's going to be the way to do it.
Or write that Q-Angle article before I have the doctor back.
No, sleep first. You can write an article later.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks very much to you. Take care.
And you, thank you.